think like short to midterm, I'm a bit worried about what will happen because I think a lot of jobs will be changing, stuff that you used to do that you don't have to do anymore. I'm optimistic in the long term because I think we'll figure it out, just like we did in the Industrial Revolution. Who knew you would need an app to analyze covered calls back then? Now you might.
Today's episode is made possible by Days to Expiry, a tool that I co-created with Florian and Lovis to help navigate the complex world of options trading. As someone who has extensively used options to enhance their long-term investments, I can attest to the importance of getting the right signals from a sea of trading noise. Achieving financial freedom is a crucial step towards personal freedom, a topic that many of our guests have already spoken about at length. To learn more about how I am working towards my own financial goals, visit daystoexpiry.com.
New episode, new guest. Just kidding. He was actually the guest on the very first episode of the covered call. Flo is what friends call him. Florian Strauf is the full name. He's a good buddy of Jason and I. We've done a couple of different projects together, and it's been over a year and about 25 episodes of this podcast since we first connected on here. And so today we wanted to catch up with the camera rolling and the audio recording because there's quite a few things happening in all of our respective lives, and there's a couple of projects that might also be interesting that result from this. And just to frame this for whoever's listening, we all kind of agree that financial independence is a key step to pretty much any kind of resulting freedom that you might have in life. And so it turns out all three of us are pursuing this ourselves independently, but also together at times. And so, while we wanted to catch up as old friends, we also really wanted to talk with each other and brainstorm a bit about the projects we got going on. And who knows, maybe somebody listening might feel inspired by one of the things we got to say. Flo, welcome back to the covered call. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks. Can't believe you guys have been chipping on for that long.
I know. We had some spectacular guests, which neither Jason or I could even really predict that we would make it this far, to be honest. Nobody's more shocked than us.
I just started listening to the Doomberg episode, and I almost feel like it's a downgrade now talking to me after having such a celebrity on in the finance world.
Yeah, man. Straight after Doomberg, we were like, let's get Flo on.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, really.
It just
cool.
means that it just means to us you're that big of a celebrity, Flo.
Yeah, exactly. So the next one after.
Yeah. Actually, I'm sitting on a couple episodes that'll go up before this one, so don't worry.
So no stress.
No stress, no stress.
Calms me down a little bit.
Yeah, guys, what's going on? Catch me up.
Yeah.
Well, non financial freedom related. I bought myself a motorbike, and we talked about it on the Maxime Bernier episode, right, Lovis? And after you released it, 2 days later, my cousin from Australia messages me and says, "So where's the motorbike? Which one did you get?" And I was so shocked because I was thinking, I haven't told my mom, I haven't told anyone in Singapore. Nobody knows except my wife and Lovis. How does my cousin know? Like, I don't think there's any connection between Lovis and my cousin, so it has to be my wife. So then I asked him, I said, "Hey, Anya," I asked Anya, did you tell Steven? And so then I asked him, and he goes, "You mentioned it on your show, you wanker." He's like, of course everyone knows. Yeah, so we've got a fan in Melbourne as well. So Steven, if you're listening, yeah, thanks for reminding me that good news spreads fast. And really cool, all the different episodes we've done. Lovis and I committed to having 10, right? And to see where it's come to, it's pretty sick.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's incredible. And I feel like now you've you've gotten to this level where you're feeling really comfortable with it, you enjoy it, you got sort of the workflow dialed in on how to get guests on, how to make it so that it's not too crazy of an effort. I think you also broke the ice, got like a decent number of views on all of these. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's been really fun. Like you said, workflow, everything is dialed in. Preferred way to get guests has really been to just ask previous guests for an intro or recommendation. That always works magically, and it's a bit unpredictable because you don't know who they're going to introduce you to, but so far it's always been the most insane leap actually in like having a warm intro to somebody who's I don't know, doing something incredible with their life is amazing. Because if you didn't have that warm intro, they like would be super hard to even make them aware of who you are and why they would ever talk to you, right?
Yeah.
But that's
You kind of start in that
really
flywheel
cool.
now.
I think it's cool, right? The power of if you make a good connection once to somebody else, you sort of build that relationship capital, you know, and other people, that person that you connected with actually feels like maybe they got something from it, or rather it wasn't unpleasant, and then because you've spent an hour and a half really connecting with them, when you ask them to recommend somebody else, they're not just recommending the next person that comes to mind, but it's more like a matchmaking thing, right? They know a little bit about who we are and what we're interested in, and they would maybe instinctively or intuitively know who they know that would love to also have that conversation. And that's, I think, the magic, right? Because that's something that you can't find in an Excel sheet or by Googling someone. It's really the power of introductions. And for us, it's worked so nicely. I mean, we often talk about the Louis Gav episode, how that was so much fun, and how he recommended us to Jen too, and then Jen recommended us to Deborah, right? Yeah. So I don't know. We need to. I'm actually about to write Deborah a message to ask as well if she had someone in mind for us, right? And keep pulling on that super cool thread.
So you don't even need to. So it's not even something that you need to do to make sure that the recommendation is the right one, because people would naturally, because they had that conversation with you guys, know what you talked about, enjoyed it, so they would, yeah, immediately have someone in mind that then fits.
Yeah, I
So
mean
far, it's
many
worked like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but many don't recommend anybody. But a lot of them do. So
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
uh,
Recapping the podcast is obviously fun, but I really would like to understand, Flo. I mean, I've been following your Rediscovering the Known. Pretty much every time you write an article, I read it fully, and I've
Oh,
really
thank you.
enjoyed it. From running not on pavement but in the woods, being a life hack, to talking with AI rather than typing, chatting with AI. Your expeditions into the most efficient coffee making that still yields a very passable result, and of course, of late, selling options for income thing, right? So I mean, just picking out a couple, but those were, I think those all roughly happened within the last year.
Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah, yeah. I'm still, still trying to find my way, what I'm actually going to write about. But I think it's going to be this really mixed bag of stuff, whatever I encounter. So the more I do it, the more I feel like the name learned late, rediscovering the known, is a good name, because I'm just some random stuff. So it's I think one important article you missed is breathing through the nose and opening. So I've got this weird condition. I'm not even sure if it's a condition. I've never seen a doctor for it, but it's so if I breathe through my uh, left nostril, I can't breathe that well. During the day, I don't notice it, but so initially I was like, I was probably doing that. I was breathing through the mouth, and then at some point, like, I need to stop it because I read this book about jaws and how jaws like grow bigger if you close your mouth and have your teeth aligned. And so I went down that rabbit hole, and then I noticed like, oh shit, I need to shut my mouth during sleep. How do I do that? So I took these plasters and I put them in my mouth. And then, so the thing that I didn't know then is that your nostrils, there's this nasal cycle, right? So your nostrils switch all the time and you don't notice it. So every couple of hours, you'll stop breathing through the right one and it will switch to the left one, fully automatic. You can't do anything about it. It's just fully automatic, right? I of course didn't know that. I don't know. I don't know if you guys knew, but it's, I didn't know, right? So anyway, like the nights where the left nostril was open or the right nostril was open, it was fine. I was sleeping very well, mouth closed, nothing. And then the nights where the other one was open, I was suffocating. I was like, I can't breathe. I need to get this plaster off. And so then I bought these breathing strips you could put on your nose and lift them up. And they use them for snoring. I don't snore, but you put them on and they lift up and you have like slightly better airflow. And I went on and on and on. I was trying to figure out like ways how to switch the nasal cycle. And ChatGPT, kind of recommended some meditation shit, and it didn't work. And then one night before bed, and I noticed like, okay, that one was open, and I knew it's going to be a shit night. I'm not going to sleep very well. And so I lie down on the couch, like on the side, in a weird position, watching something, and then the nasal cycle switched. I'm like, oh my goodness, how did that work? And then the next night I tried again, and it works. And now I do it every night. If my left nostril is opened, and I want to switch it to the other one because then I sleep better, I lie down in this weird position and it switches. So,
And what's the
wrote an article about that.
When?
Huh?
Sorry. How do you even know which one's active? Do you just feel it when you inhale deeply through the nose, or?
You can try it. You just hold your fingers onto your nose when you breathe. No, in front, so you see the airflow. And right now, you'll only have airflow through one.
Yeah, it's true.
It is true. Of course it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay. I didn't realize
Damn.
No, I didn't realize it was that noticeable. It's like way noticeable.
It is, yeah. And so, then like check it tomorrow morning.
Crazy.
It'll be a different one. Pretty sure. It'll switch throughout the night. And
so how?
I don't know why
every 6 hours, 12 hours, 4 hours, like is it?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got no idea.
What's the upside when you get this thing right? You just sleep better, or what's the downside if you compared to Flo 5 years ago? What's the diff? How do you feel different now with regards to sleep and breathing?
I feel like you sleep better because you have. First of all, you shut your mouth. I think it's really important to keep your mouth shut all the time, because you not only breathing through your mouth is not the way the body's intended to work. You're supposed to breathe through the nose. That's what the nose is for, because it warms the air, it filters the air. And shutting the mouth also helps with the, aligns your teeth and just generally helps with like making sure your jaw is in the right place and your teeth are not crooked and moving. So I think maybe sleep a bit better. It's hard to test because I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and that is a weird sample size now to test how my sleep quality is. I get kicked in the head sometimes in the night, or get someone screaming.
Should be happy getting any sleep at all.
Yeah. But from that perspective, I think it's better. Weird tangent, but I think since I stopped working for Forged, been putting a lot more. They're trying to write a lot more ups and downs and consistency, but just random stuff that comes to mind. I think it's kind of cool because it helps you think through stuff as well. And sometimes it's cool to send it to someone. I had like you, Lovis, you reaching out and telling me that you read some of the articles. That was kind of a cool surprise, right? And then I had someone else telling me that, and then I sent the breathing thing to someone. He was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know this. This is so cool." Just for that, otherwise I don't have a ton of readers, but it's just fun. enjoying
the
it.
funny thing, after I read that one with the breathing, then somehow, I don't know, YouTube Shorts or one of these video apps then sent me a video on it, on how to change the breathing cycle. I sent it to you and you're like, yeah, that one doesn't work. That
That
was
was
pretty
for
funny.
me. Yeah. Yeah. I tried.
So, Flo, how long ago did you step away from your position at Forged?
That was in March. How long was that? Yeah, like 8 months.
Was that, would you say that was a tough decision?
Yeah, it was a really tough decision. So that was kind of for I had started a business, with you guys, and I kept going with it, and then that got bought, and I worked for the company that bought that business, and yeah, it was a lot of fun for a year. I did it, and then it yeah, had some issues with the founder of that business that we just disagreed on something, and I decided that was not my thing, and I left. And yeah, it was definitely a tough decision. You go from a safety net of having decent equity in a company and a salary to nothing, and that's always a big leap to take, even if you've done it before, right? In the case of when I left SAP like 5 years ago, I also went from big pay to nothing or not much. So I think like it's always a tough decision. I mean, you guys did it too at some point,
Plus,
but
you've got a young family, right?
yeah. On top of that, yeah.
I mean, it does get harder, I think, every time you do it. Well, maybe
Harder.
emotionally you've been there
Yeah.
before, but you also got a couple of years older, right? So typically you have more responsibility, not less.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about before, right? In this age bracket that we're in or that we're entering, you got young kids, maybe aging parents. So like you're really, there's demands on both sides, right? Top and bottom.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely not easy to walk away from that.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, in your case, especially since there was substantial equity that you then also had to walk away from. It's one thing to say no to a salary, but if you have to walk away from
Yeah.
both, that's really tough.
Yeah. 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 That's why tough decision, but like looking back now, I'm really happy that I did it, even though I don't have that. But the stuff that then, because I did not stop working there and then not do anything at all. I just kept on doing stuff that I was interested in, like writing the blog, working on a ton of different projects. And even though none of them have led to any noticeable success yet, I think I've just learned a lot and planted a lot of seeds of things that could then turn into something down the road. So that's been pretty good.
So, Flo, I got a question, right? For other people that are listening in, or even for ourselves in the future, I'm sure we'll have tough decisions to make again and again and again. So now, when you look back, you feel like no doubt that was the right decision, right? But yet, at that point in time, it was so tough to make that decision that now, when you look back, seems like, oh, I'm glad I did that. So how do you think we can reconcile that so that we can use it as a heuristic going forwards the next time we have a tough decision to make?
I think to me, it was the reason why I had to make that decision was we didn't agree on something, and in my mind, integrity was violated. And I have my core principles, and I hold integrity as something that's very, very high on that list. In the people that I work with or am friends with and interact with, and as soon as that came up as an issue, that upset me so much. I was like, okay, that has violated one of my core principles. And that's why I said, like, okay, that's been violated. How can I, like, I've basically lost all my trust now. And if I don't have any trust, then like you can have contracts, you can have, any type of thing people have said. But if trust If that has been violated once,
Yep.
that integrity, right? Yeah. How can you go on with that? So I think, like, to me, I'll always go back to that, right? My core principles, and I know what these are, and yeah, that was somewhat violated, and it didn't feel right to keep doing it.
Okay, so going forward, if touch wood, hopefully not, but if something like that happens again, you know, you have a few red lines, and if those things get crossed, then it's not easy, but then it's simple.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
good on you, man. Good on you for taking the tougher choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I still, you still sometimes think back and, like, oh, what could have been, but I was assuring myself that it's definitely better.
Yeah.
Definitely better. Yeah.
I mean,
So yeah,
I think the closest experience I had with this was with my company I started with a co-founder. And I mean, I wouldn't say that integrity was violated in that case, but we just had different ideas of which way to take things, and just couldn't agree really. And when money's involved and different goals, personal and professional, then for me it was like, well, then just let me have full control. I'll buy you out, and then I can either sink or swim, and with my own, with
my own
my own
choice.
mistakes or my own choices, exactly, and that has felt incredibly good to me.
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but it's for sure. Is what I would generally recommend, because I think partnerships are actually super hard, and
Yeah.
and business partnerships are, they're relationships, pretty intense ones. They're like mini marriages, and as we all know, many marriages just don't work out. So,
Yeah.
it's
And you kind of, the thing is, with a business relationship, you kind of started on great terms, right? And often the you're super excited about it, enthusiastic, yeah. And then in like a startup world, there's no money involved, right? You're sort of like, oh, one day, well, but when that one day comes and you're sitting in front of a lot of money, then everybody just changes. Their minds change, their way they think, the way they've been talking all that time is suddenly changes. And so that makes it so much harder. And then the contract I've learned, or I feel contract that you have, and that you have when you signed them or when you created them, you were like all enthusiastic and had like a lot of goodwill about them, like, oh, we'll figure that out. They're then not so good anymore in some cases, right? You'll look back at them and you'll say, like, oh, that, if it really push came to shove, that could be seen in a different way, or that might be risky, or this might not be so good, right? So I think the biggest lesson is really, you got to make sure up front that you really, really, really trust the person that you work with, and that you get along well in that partnership.
Yep. So, but I mean, I know you've done tons of interesting stuff along the way, but like, what would you say is a goal that you have? I mean, I'm sure you don't want to stay regular income-less forever.
Ideally not, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess, like, fitting through your guys' podcast, right? I'd like to make sure that I can pay the bills with something that I own or that I control. And it doesn't, I don't really care that much about what it is. I just want to be able to be independent in a way that I can keep doing what I'm doing right now, right? So my life right now looks a bit like this. We live in New Zealand. We live in a beautiful spot that we chose. Right? It was not dictated by, oh, I was able to find a job there, right? So we are Australians. We're also Germans, and we at some point decided, oh, let's try out New Zealand. And so I didn't go and look on the map for a place I could choose. I could move to, right? We looked at the weather. Like, where's the nicest climate in New Zealand that is close to the beach? And we found the spot that we found. And so that was awesome. And I'd just love to continue to do this, to have this freedom of move where I want, live where I want, be able to pay the bills for that and feed the family. So that's pretty much the only criteria. Everything else, I don't really care. So in the last 8 months, I've been doing some consulting because a friend asked me to help out with their software architecture. And then I've built a lot of different little projects, see where they go. Been, of course, selling options in the last 2 months.
How did you come to selling options? Tell them about the kayaking trip.
So my friend Jason has been telling me about this for, I don't know, the better half of 5 years now. And I've always ignored it. I've always been like, I don't need any money right now. I don't need to, get involved in that. And honestly, it felt too complicated. So, when we visited the family in Germany, we went out to Leipzig and then we went on a canoe trip on what was the river?
Sure, I don't even know the name.
The river that goes through Leipzig. Someone will figure it out. And we talked about this, that right now I'm at this point where I've luckily saved and invested quite well, that I don't need to immediately go get another job while I figure this out. But now I was getting to the point where I had to start selling assets. So sell like a bit of Bitcoin, maybe sell a bit of gold, shares here and there to pay the bills. And Jason then recommended the strategy again and said like, oh, why don't you try sell calls and puts to make income? And well, then tried it out, and so far it's been working quite well. Been able to pay the bills for sure. So thanks for that.
Cool, man.
The river is called Weiße Elster, but nobody cares.
Thank you.
The White Elster.
That was fun. Good little trip.
But yeah, so I mean, it's a big topic, right? But so the irony of this whole thing is that the reason there's this podcast today and it has this funky name, The Covered Call, is because Jason and I had originally started designing an app that would help us find, I don't know, but generally speaking, find more profitable calls to sell or puts to sell. And the app's around. It has 2 paying subscribers, which have been faithfully with us for a while. But that's as far. But then we did the podcast, and that somehow worked so much better for us. Not that we're making any money with this. This is a complete money sink, but nevertheless, has led to some very special and probably invaluable moments and experiences. And of course, Flo, I mean, I know you're very humble, but from what I've seen, you are like really freaking good at building software. So that definitely helps. I think that AI has really helped you up your game, just from what I can tell from the outside. But that also takes a lot of skill, and you need to be up on the news cycle, right? Like keeping up with all that that's at least a part-time job. Yeah. So I think maybe because you haven't had so much on your schedule the last few months, you were also able to do that. So that, I mean, because like I have 2 developers working for me, and they don't know a lot of the tricks that you figured out, basically. So that's pretty cool. That's definitely helpful to be productive, and not just be productive, but also to build something that you can then, like, I don't know, Jason showed me this thing that you guys use to see what users are doing on your website. And I've asked my guys before that I want that, and they were like, that's really hard. Like, sorry. Like, if you want that, it'll be a couple of weeks to integrate, blah, blah. And I'm like,
that's a difference.
Well, clearly not.
But you see, I think that's the big difference, right? I'm working for myself and trying to figure out to feed my family. I haven't achieved that goal yet, so I'm hungry. I'm hungry, looking for food. But your developers, they're already fed, right? You're paying them. So
it's your fault, Lovis. It's your fault.
Yeah. But I think that's the big difference. I think like people who you'll just figure this stuff out. So I thought, when we first started Tokenomics DAO, and I had to think about this, Lovis, right? I was like, I had no idea about SEO and how to make sure a page ranks well in like on any site. And I think like I wouldn't say now I'm an expert on it, but I feel like I've got at least 3 sites now that are ranking fairly well, get decent organic traffic. And it's just because I wanted to figure out how to get this done. And so you just do it because you don't have another option. I mean, I could go and pay someone to do it, but I just don't want to
Yeah,
do it.
but
I don't have the money
I
for it.
mean, but the thing is too, you don't need to be an expert. You need like 2 or 3 things that work, and they may not work forever, but while they work, you use them. And then
Yeah.
because you're kind of staying up with it, then, in 5 years, these 3 might not work anymore, but 3 other tricks that work, So
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
the magic, right?
It is. And I think it's just this, you just keep doing it. You just keep doing the thing. And
Yeah.
while you keep doing it, you build a new site, and then the next time you learn something new, you get better at it. You get better and better and better. Improve your workflow. And then, like you say, something comes up on Twitter with a new methodology someone uses, and then you adopt that, try that out. And every single time you get a little bit better at it. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, and then I think there's also something that speaks to, the simplicity. So at least, I mean, I don't even know in detail all the stuff that you've built. I mentioned the coffee thing, which was like a passion project, I think. But with the options, right? Like Jason and I built something that was very specific to Jason's workflow, I think, which we both were convinced would be like, well, if only people would understand how great it is. But that's unfortunately not always the right way to do it, right? So you coming to the option selling with a complete beginner's mind, I think also really helps kind of solve your own problem. And then the thing that I've found interesting, what Jason told me about you guys starting to post on Reddit, nobody really, I mean, I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not saying nobody cares about the option selling per se, but everybody's like, wow, that's a cool dashboard. I want that. Yeah. And so often I know that I have this issue. I always think that a product needs to be something like really crazy and like polished and so valuable, but then people often just want like, no, that thing, that thing I want, forget the rest. Like, yeah, whatever. I just want that one thing.
Yeah. I guess that's how it works, right? That's why this whole idea of, as a startup, you pivot a lot comes from, right? Sometimes you have your product, you think it's the greatest thing, but then, and somebody might notice it, and they'll say like, oh, that's kind of neat. But if you had that button in green and blue and it would do this, I would buy it. And then you do that, and then everybody's like, holy shit, they've got this green blue button, it does that. I want that. And so everybody starts using it, right? And the original idea that you had isn't actually the thing that made your company successful. And I think, I don't have a concrete example, but I've certainly read about this from all sorts of companies that are now out there that have done God knows what when they started, but have changed significantly, right? I'm sure you guys have done so in the past with things that you did. I mean, like the covered call is the best example, right? You started out and thought like, oh, we'll build an app for covered calls, and now you're a podcast that had Doomberg on.
In a way, yeah. It's a pretty epic pivot, yeah. But I mean, yeah, I guess you're right. We failed on a couple of fronts, but we massively succeeded on some other ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I think that quality. Sorry, Jay. I'm sure you probably have some more profound to say than me.
No, nothing. Actually, I have something super profound to say, and it's actually what Lovis often says. He says you need to increase your surface area for luck, right? And I think doing this, whatever you do, you put energy into an environment, you create ripples, you want to add value, and sometimes you get echoes or reverberations back, and if you're listening enough, right, then something resonates, and then you found something else to do, then that pivot comes, right? But I guess if you're sitting there not doing anything at all, then it's hard to pivot because there's nothing really to pivot to because you haven't got feedback or a reaction.
Yeah.
So I think when you're describing that, it makes me think of what Lovis says, right? Just increase your surface area for luck. Yeah, and it's a good picture to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I took it, I think, from Naval, but it makes a good picture to something that I intuitively knew before I knew Naval, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Learned late, rediscovering the known.
Right. No, for sure. It's I'm a huge believer in that. That's why it's like, take the call, go out on the date type of thing, take the trip. Even you don't necessarily always know, or you're unsure if it's really the one thing I should be doing. Who knows? But you can always stumble into the thing. But then, of course, for that to work, you also need to be somewhat open and paying attention, right?
Yeah. And that's, I don't know about you guys, but for me, that is sometimes super hard. I have this, because I'm very, in my mind, I'm very disciplined. So I'll work on this one thing and think like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. But I feel like sometimes people who go on these creative tangents, they then venture into something else that is kind of cool. They discover something and then they publish it. And that is then a huge success. I feel like sometimes that's a cool thing if you can kind of step to the side a little bit and try something new, and that then turns into something that is successful.
Yeah, but of course, how do you drive? Where's the line between distraction and whatever
Yeah, I don't
creative
know. Yeah,
exploration? Right? I also don't know. So it's hard. And then once you have something that does work, it's also like, well, how much more creative exploration do I do, or how much do I just focus on this one thing and make it work now? Right?
Yeah.
That's always
super hard.
Actually, it's funny. Like, I think you guys both know, right? I'm trying to build this course for options, and while I'm building it, I'm reading up and getting refamiliarized with Taleb's anti-fragility stuff and convexity, right? And when it comes down to it, it's all about reducing your downside, making sure the downside is known, but at the same time setting things up so that your upside is unlimited, right? That's the convexity part. And then another huge part about being anti-fragile is to have survivorship. So basically, if you can keep taking the hits, right? Even if you don't make money from, let's say, a tail event, but the fact that you survive it means that the next time something happens, you're so much better adapted to deal with it that your chance for that upside goes up. Or put it another way, if you've got this, you constantly bet, I don't know, 10 cents to win $100, right? But the odds are not 1,000 to 1. The odds are 200 to 1. So then the game will be, it's stacked in your favor, but you need to have as many bets as possible. Yeah. So
survive long
it's
enough.
about, exactly. So if you can blend those two, right, get that unlimited upside while surviving, and then just keep taking pot shots, right? And so then, because that's on my mind, right, what we talked about this evening, I was like, oh shit, there's so much parallels to that, right? Like just now when you're saying, hey, I don't want to work with somebody I can't trust, because that's actually then non-convex, that's actually concave, right? Because now your downside is unlimited.
Well, it's not,
because
and
you're
it's not
working
known for sure, right? It's definitely
exactly
not known.
Exactly. You're not capping your downside. You could be working super hard and then you get shafted and then you lose everything. Right. So that's not good. And then, survivorship, like, okay, so we can draw a million different examples, but just to make probably a very narrow one, if you're in the trenches with somebody you don't trust, your chances of surviving is definitely lower than when you're in there with somebody that you can trust, right?
Yeah, or on your own. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, I'm finding that those concepts that I actually read Anti-Fragile like many years ago, and it's always stuck with me. But to read it again after having been through all the things we've been through the last 10, 12 years, it's very refreshing to get reacquainted, and be reminded. So convexity and survivorship, right? Upside, non-linear outcomes are good, and always do not have leverage to the downside, because that that basically takes you out, and then you can't play anymore, and then it's 9 to 5 for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
Or worse.
Or worse, yeah.
Or maybe it's 24/7 with 1 hour in the yard. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's the extreme example. No, but Jason, I'm super, super happy that you're working on the course, because even when we got started with this, I was convinced that would actually be the gateway drug to any kind of app, really, because it's often easier to sell a course, because a course always helps you. I mean, even if you wouldn't sell it, even if you would give it away, right?
Mm.
And I know you tell people, friends, family, whoever, about options, like you have Flow, and then sometimes you get ignored. But if at least you follow up with the link, say, hey, I put some thought into this, right? Like, it's a proof that you've actually thought it through. It's not just something you're recommending over a beer, but it's actually something you've put the effort into creating. You naturally get also taken a lot more serious. And what you just said, like, well, going and revisiting these concepts makes you better at it, right?
Yep.
So that's incredible. And then, yeah, if you do sell it, then stacking another product to the people that purchase the courses. I mean, tons of examples of how people build their marketing like that, right? I mean, I think the most famous guy that's been on the podcast is Rick Rule, right? Who says he sells educational materials, and not even materials, but like he gives knowledge away for free or paid. And that is what allowed him to have like one of the fastest growing, whatever, assets under management funds back in the day when he was doing that. And so I'm sure there was people who did it before him, but it is clearly a formula that works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I don't think I have enough time to bring everyone on a kayaking trip for 3 hours to tell them about options while they're stuck with me. So
yeah.
No, you somehow
Man, that's true. You really waited for Flo to be like a captive audience. Like,
yeah, he could not run, and there were like dead rats in the water and everything. So there was no way he was going to jump in to escape.
Yeah. Good on you. Thanks for keeping trying to get me on this train.
But just to what's the app called, and like what are you guys working towards with it?
Well, it's called Days to Expiry. What are we working towards? I think to me, it's exactly what you described, right? It's like scratching my own itch. It is, I didn't understand what Jason was talking about with, oh, you buy it so far out of the money, you have that expiry day, and then you look for delta that, theta that, and it's like, geez, I don't get what this all means. And then you just roll the wheel, and if you get assigned, you buy a put. I don't understand all that. And so I think to me, it was really this, okay, trying to simplify this into something that I can understand. I think that's what the app is right now, is kind of allows me in this weekly workflow. So I don't use this to, increase my portfolio by a lot, because in New Zealand, they tax options premiums as income. So I just want to keep it at a level where it covers our expenses and just really pays the bills. So my goal is just, I want to use this. I use this tool every Tuesday, my time. That's sort of when I wake up and the markets are open in the US. Then I place all my trades, and then I close Interactive Brokers again to next week. So I use that app I open it up, I go through all the positions, see where I've gotten assigned or where an option has expired, and then I buy some new ones. And then I close it again. I don't worry about it too much. And that's really what the app is for me. Of course, there's lots of other users that are using it in different ways now. But yeah, that's kind of where I would see it. I want to make this as simple as possible for people to just run this workflow, understand the risks, understand what they can be making, and then review their performance. Just see like, okay, how's this strategy been going?
Yeah, for me, seeing what you've done, Flo, is really impressive, really cool. Because I got into options trading, right? Looking at these, like what do you call it? Like 1980s looking websites, right?
Yeah.
And I was trawling through those, trying to find options prices, and then putting it in an Excel sheet. And actually, that was when me and Lovis started working on that covered app, because I was telling him how much time it was taking me, 3 or 4 hours a week. And I would be dealing with data that was 2 days old,
Uh-huh.
without having live prices. And now for you to listen to all that and then come up with something that then spits stuff out at an audience that is, I don't know, finding it intuitive to use from first impressions, and that it makes sense for you, that's really cool. And yeah, it's like a world of difference from looking at those old 1980s websites and Excel sheets, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I
there
think
was
that's
a
what's so cool. Yeah, sorry. With this whole AI, right? I'm definitely not the greatest developer out there, and I've never been, but I think like the fact that AI is quite good at generating this type of code now has enabled people like me who maybe, see something or have a vision to do something to now build that and turn that into a product that other people can use. It's not easy. Not everybody can do it. And you need some technical knowledge to, especially for if it gets more complex. But yeah, you can definitely, if you have that vision, it's gotten much easier to bring it to life in a quick way.
what's so just really quick flow, but what I don't know enough to have a detailed discussion over, but like what are the key tools that you use to build?
So, well, yeah, it's definitely AI models, right? So Anthropic has the best one in my opinion. It's called Claude, yeah, CLAUDE, and it's so good because I think they have not the knowledge of the AI model, but it's something called tool calls. And so what this model does essentially is it runs on your computer, and it knows how to call certain tools on your computer. And that tool could be find a certain word in a text file, then edit that text file in 4 different lines, and then save that text file, and then find the next text file to edit, right? So it's really good at that, and combining that with its reasoning and thinking. And so that then combined with like any development environment like Visual Studio Code lets you type in something, and then it goes off and does the changes. And of course, there's Replit, and there's Lovable. There's all these different sites. I think they're really good at the surface level. So if you just want to build a website with a little bit of logic, you can do that. But if you want to go deeper, you'll need to at some point move to one of these IDEs, development environments, and then use one of these models to then like go really deep into what the features that you actually want to develop. So that's what I mainly use. Yeah.
Yeah. So my first-hand experience with it, like I used Replit when I first heard it on some podcast, maybe a year ago, and I was already impressed. But the thing is, because I signed up, then I keep getting their product update emails, and they have like, I mean, I'm not trying to promote their stuff too much, but I was just shocked with how much it improved in the span of a year or so.
Yeah.
And so, since I do the prototyping business stuff, it's really helped me, even if the end result doesn't even need to be fully functional, but if I can at least express like, like that, right? Like that, it doesn't work right now, but
yeah,
that's how I want the workflow to be. It's so much faster and better than drawing it out on Figma or something,
Yeah.
You can already have it like live somewhere and send somebody a link, even if it's just, random prototype.replit.com, but you have something, right? It is mind boggling how fast that
crazy
came into the world.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that with other products, it's probably even more so. I don't know, but
yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's cool, but it's also shocking. Right? If you think about the implications of it all, right? Like I did an apprenticeship as a software developer 20 years ago in Germany, and I learned how to code then. And now I hardly ever code at all. It's like
Yeah.
something that you don't do anymore. So it's mainly, I wrote this article about voice to text, so I just use that. I talk to the thing and tell it what to do, and then it does that, and then I implement sort of strategies and guidelines and walkthroughs and make sure that it keeps track of what it's doing. But that's all I do. I don't code anymore. It's all gone, right? And my productivity has gone through the roof because of that in building apps. And I think so many other people have now been able to do it. So I I can't even think through what that's going to do to the whole software industry. And
Actually, that's what I wanted to ask you next, right? We had this conversation once when I was on my nighttime walks, and you were right, and we were talking about how will the world change, and seeing that you are kind of in a really nice perch, right, to get a good perspective on things. Where do you think things are gonna go? Not only in coding and in software, but I don't know, just white collar employment, right? How do you
yeah,
think this stuff's gonna impact all that?
hmm, yeah, it's a good question. Um, I think many different jobs that are out there that have been just supercharged now in terms of efficiency and how to do it. Where you had to, like accounting, like doing reconciliation of um, your books and what's in your bank. I remember doing this 4 years ago, and it was just a painful thing where you'd go through QuickBooks and you have to check all your transactions and see how they match and why the amounts don't stack up. And that's something you feed that CSV file into a model, and it'll point out to you immediately how that's done and how and what you need to fix or what you need to change, what accounts you need to book it to, right? So it's not only coding; it's so many different areas that uh, are related to doing something with data and information. And I think um, the models might not be perfect. Like I'm like swearing, cursing a lot about what Claude's doing oftentimes because it's producing a lot of garbage. But if I think back 2-3 years ago when I started with this, it's insane, right? I used to write these SQL statements. So if you want to get data out of a database, there's a certain language, and it can be quite confusing to get that data out. And I remember doing that by hand. I would feed it into the AI model, and it would give me certain things, but it never really got a SQL statement that would then work and spit out the data. And I was like, I never ever do it at all. I don't have to correct it. It always one-shots this information. So if you, Jason, asked me for like, how many signups did we have last week? Can we have that cumulative, right? I don't write that statement myself. I never, like back then I would have to do it, or I could partially create it. Now I just feed it into the thing, copy it, paste it, and it works. It always works without failure. And if I see the rate of improvement over the last 2 years, what's going to be, what will we have in 5 years? Yeah, so I think like short to midterm, I'm a bit worried about what will happen because I think a lot of jobs will be changing, stuff that you used to do that you don't have to do anymore. I'm optimistic in the long term because I think we'll figure it out, just like we did in the Industrial Revolution, right? Who knew you would need an app to analyze covered calls back then? Now you might. And I think like it will take some time to figure out these new fields that we all want to work in and that we all want to spend time on and make money with, perhaps. But I think in the short term, yeah, it's back to that Taleb quote, right? If like everything you've done is based on being employed and you're doing the data entry, then you potentially have a lot of downside
Yep.
in there, right?
Yep.
Like if you focus on these dumb tasks and have never been interested in leveling up or being independent from that or thinking for yourself into about a bit more advanced concepts, then yeah,
What
that
are
can be a
the
problem.
adjacent problems and figure out how to solve those in addition to what you're doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I don't know. I think that it all sounds to me like basically people are on one hand empowered to realize their ideas or visions much more easily, assuming that they are in code or can
Yeah.
be produced on a computer, right?
Yeah.
At least for now. And so I think with that, I just lost Flo. Did I lose you too, Jason? No.
No, I'm here.
Um,
But dude,
was-
it's so scary, man. Like, yeah, I can just tell you while we wait for Flo to join us again. You know, when I was at the company in the solar industry, right? Hey, Flo. Flo's
Sorry, guys.
back. Yeah. Nah, Flo, I was just saying, I feel a bit taken aback, or it's pretty eerie because, um, when I was still working in solar, I remember in 2015, 16, 17, it was just the beginning of us using machine learning with optics to find out flaws in the solar cells that were coming onto the, that were getting tested for efficiency, right? So they basically wanted to look for micro cracks and issues to do with the manufacturing process that would come up on the cell and could potentially cause efficiency losses or cause fires in solar panels down the track. So they needed to um, sort these out, right? And I remember the first time I was in China in 2015 or so, there was a guy sitting there looking at a huge LCD screen. I don't know what screen it was, maybe plasma screen, whatever, super HD, right? With 50 different solar cells, all in gray, with different black patterns or dark patterns on them. And he was just basically going like this
Mhm.
bad, this bad, this good, this good, this. And back then, I was already thinking like, whoa, that's pretty advanced, right? Like they use this electroluminescence thing and then they just show it from 4 or 5 different lines. They show it on one big screen and then one guy just does that for an hour and then he goes off and somebody else does it. And that's pretty fast and that's pretty good. And then suddenly it was like, nah, we can use machines to do it, right? Because if we can teach the machines what they need to look out for, then all we need to do is find a way to put into parameters. Hey, we need black pixels that are this long with this kind of a gradient. And then if that happens, sort it out, right? And then slowly, it got to the point where now the machine kind of tells you, hey, we can correlate this kind of an error, this kind of a damage pattern on the cell with a certain efficiency loss. So maybe you should look out for these. And actually, those other ones are not so important to look out for. Right. So then
Mm.
it took over, right? Instead of just finding out what you told it to find, it started to tell you, hey guys, right? Maybe you should look for this one, and actually we can rank it for you that these ones are more important than those ones.
Yeah.
So what makes it scary for me now when I listen to you is that whole time while I was looking at that happen, it was in my mind always, yeah, but that's in the realms of industrial work, right? Basically it's a good thing because it's taking away stuff that humans don't want to do anyway, because why should that guy sit there, look at a screen all day and point out which black boxes look worse than the others, right?
Yeah.
That's not a self-actualized role, right? But it but from what you're telling me now, basically this machine learning can actually migrate across, because of these AI models, they can migrate across to so many other different things that people do, because it's now got that logic and that communication, right? That back then in China, a guy needed to stay on the factory floor for 2 weeks writing code to make sure that he could translate what the floor line manager wanted into
Mhm.
what the machine looked out for. And so there was this barrier of entry, right, for the machine to actually help you. But if things are getting so easy now where you can use that power and you can talk to a language model on the phone, then yeah, when you tell me about reconciliation for accounting, yeah, of course they can do it. And it probably would do it even better than a human and faster, right? And what else? That's just scratching the surface.
Yeah. 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 There are limitless areas of application, right? Where you can put this into, like the whole you know, you're using Riverside to record this, and I tried it out the other week, and it is so cool. I used it, and you click a button, and it gets all the ums and ahs and you know, it gets all these words out. Like the first
Used to
time
take
I did,
hours. Used to take hours to edit all
yeah,
that, right?
yeah, and now it just does it. There's so many little areas where we're increasing efficiencies, and I think it's just improving or increasing the areas where we can increase the efficiency. That's just going up with every new model that's come out, and then with every new way they can like wire up these tool calls where you call a tool to do something for you. It's mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah, but so I think there's all kinds of stuff on my mind, but I think the ultimate protection, so to speak, to still make sure that you have a living in the future is, I think, to own assets, right? So because if you chances are people will find a way to survive, right? Humans are very adaptable. I think even being a developer is not bad, because just the sheer amount of software that's getting written now and is going to keep getting written is accelerating. And so
Yeah.
naturally there's also going to be more people with problems. And of course, like it becomes a distribution curve, right? If AI can fix the 80-90% in the middle, of course that eliminates a lot of jobs. But if just in general, if like billions of programs are now written every year, there's still going to be a ton of work on the sides that the humans are good at solving that the machines aren't yet.
Yeah.
So I think generally speaking, it's not actually a bad career to be in. However, is it going to be bad to say, oh, I learned this in school and this is where my knowledge is at, and I'm a junior engineer and this is what I'm going to be? Well, you're screwed, right? Because you basically, what you need to do what Flo is doing, and you just have to keep learning how to use these tools. So when you do get a gig, you can also be 10x more productive than you usually would be, right? So I think it's of course it's not a given, but then at the same time, for example, during COVID, I know some guys in the US, there were software engineers, and the salaries they were paid were completely ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
for the work they did, maybe working, maybe actually working like 25, 30 hours a week, spending most of that in meetings, like it's just, it was like there's a lot of like, I call it like corporate welfare type of jobs in these big tech companies, because they're churning so much cash. They literally do not care how much they pay you. And then if you're like, everybody was working from home during COVID, and so it's like, yeah, of course, this guy's making 300K, but he's currently at the gym and we don't really expect him to log back on until 4. That was completely normal, right? So it was also natural that this like fat gets trimmed eventually. And it's of course a bit funny that actually then software developers from a different field are the ones who go and trim it, right?
Cut off their own branch. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and so now what I see is now, like, it's more like midfield junior engineers, their salaries are coming down a bit, but they're still making decent money, right? It's not that bad, but it is not the multiple 100Ks anymore. And then I think it's up to you, right? So what app are you going to build that the market actually wants? So it forces you a little bit more to think about outside of your domain and figure out what people actually want, and maybe, be more entrepreneurial. But maybe I'm also very optimistic, I guess, with that stuff. But
yeah, it's I don't know. It's so interesting. We took the approach to market our app on Reddit, right? So I think Reddit's great for marketing, because there's just, you get so much engagement in these little subreddits, and you get on Twitter, it's so much harder to do the same thing, because on Twitter, you can't get in front of the same audience at the same time that is so targeted. And on Reddit, you can. Just have to be careful the way you do it, right? You can't drop links. You got to be careful that you follow the subreddit's rules and whatever. But what I'm seeing there is, we sort of promoted the app a little bit by just posting screenshots of our trades. And we did that in some way because many other people do it as well. We just promote our trades. But there's now other people that also publish or do this in the same way with their own custom built apps, right? So there's this flood of apps and everybody's publishing it. And, I'm a software developer. I've been using the Claude models for 2 years now, and I can see immediately if a person is using Claude for the first time to generate an app, because it always is styled the same way. It always has the same colors, right? It's always got this like orange, purple, and green. And so once you've seen it, and you know what it is, right? So if somebody posts a screenshot like, "Oh, I built this amazing tool," you can immediately see if he's got no fucking clue, because the app will be always styled exactly the same way. And he hasn't touched the styling, the person that's published it. So I've seen a couple of these on Reddit where people have been like, "Oh, I built this cool little app," right? So I think the building of the software has become easier and easier, and that's cool. But the marketing and selling and building an audience and getting it out there, that's still very difficult. And yeah, I think my key takeaway for how to survive these next years is just like, you have to keep doing this. You have to keep playing that game. You cannot ignore it in any way, right? Because otherwise you're gonna, it's like there's the Terminator running around, and you just need to join the machines. Otherwise you're lost, or you're losing the game. So for our blog posts, right, you cannot continue to write blog posts for SEO by hand, because nobody else does that anymore. So what do? You have to adopt and generate this stuff, because otherwise you're not going to be found, because everybody else is just like building for that same attention. And
Yeah.
you cannot code by hand anymore.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of different hinge points that I could hook into, but I did want to talk a little bit about what's been happening most recently in my life. And so one thing that Jason, you had said before, was with the convexity, right? Survivorship. So I made a pretty grave error not too long ago, and it was basically misjudging a low probability of an event with I equated that low probability of an event with it being a low risk, right? And that's not right. Just because something is a low probability of occurring doesn't mean it's a low risk, right? It could be a huge, massive risk, but that it happens very unlikely, right? And so, but then you still have to treat it as if it's a big risk. I'm pretty sure that Taleb actually also explains that, I think in Black Swan. But so yeah, so what was that, right? So my family and I were moving to the US in July. I've been married to an American for almost 10 years. Actually, in 6 days, it's 10 years. And thank you. And we were moving, and my plan was to apply for the green card once I'm in country, which is one of the legal pathways of doing it. However, I took a quick trip to Vancouver to a conference. And then on the way home, so to speak, I got denied entry into the US. And I found myself on a plane back to Germany all of a sudden. And all things considered, this went as well as it can for me, which I'm very grateful for. But it, of course, led to a small landslide of knock-on effects, right? So kids in school pulled out, wife and kids coming back to Germany because, we didn't want to be apart. There was no telling for how long it would take. I was instructed to go home and get the appropriate visa, which is, green card, and come back. And usually when you do that abroad, it takes 18 to 24 months. And so I was like, F, right? Like, that's not good. But then anyway, found a good attorney. She knew of a way to accelerate, worked through that. But then till the very end, wasn't really sure if this incident of being denied at the border would in fact disqualify me from a green card. And now I know, and that's also the only reason I'm telling this publicly, is it wasn't a good enough reason to deny the green card. And I did get the stamp in my passport now. But the final step of this process is actually not over yet. I still have to actually go to the US and get it validated on the border. But so there's like tons of things that I was building on, banking on getting, right? And so I wanted to touch on this long tail risk thing, right? That was a huge takeaway. And as soon as it's something like that happens to you, then you understand it. You're like, fuck, that I screwed that up.
That's what he means by that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then the other thing, which is a lot more I guess was more exciting, less stressful, more exciting, is so I have this one business that's going well in Texas, and but my wife and I really want to buy another one to increase cash flow, to eventually maybe work towards having a small portfolio of businesses that we own and operate. And as it turns out, in the US, there's a fantastic program that gives you 10-to-1 leverage, like a bank loan that's backed by the government, that helps you buy a small business. And I've known about this for a little while. I joined a business buying community from some fancy influencer that lives in Texas, and learned even more. And then the thing was, because I was in Germany with a little bit more time on my hands than when I'm actually physically in the US, I then found a business that I actually really liked, and that we're like now in the process of doing the due diligence for. And the green card also completely is the marker that's required to kind of make that happen, because without the green card, can't get the loan. Without the loan, can't buy the business. So,
That's cool.
but yeah, so that's why I said earlier, I think the way to survive this is buying assets. And of course, you don't need to buy a business, right? I think it's fine to buy stocks in companies that know how to use AI to be successful. For example, I think it's good to buy Bitcoin. I think it's good to buy gold. I think probably fine art, like a lot of things that are scarce, because some people will get phenomenally wealthy by leveraging AI, and their demand for these goods will make sure that they carry value into the future. I think, and so I think just whichever way you can, try to save, try to build a stash of assets that allow you to survive. I think that's one of the keys. But then the other thing you said, Flo, I also completely agree with. You just have to keep building, right? If you stop, you're definitely going to fall behind.
Yeah, I agree. But like, what would the people that just started studying law do, right? No money, no nothing. Like, what advice do you give to them?
That studied what? Law?
Yeah.
Or...
like law seems to me one of these things that super reputable in the past, maybe like software engineers. And I feel like now, with our ability to reason and parse text quite well, this is going to be like, I mean, they must have insane efficiency increases now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there'd be good and bad things because of that. I think there'll be just insane waves of litigation for stupid shit.
Yeah.
Because you can now basically make an AI write all the documents
full
to
case.
the courts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then it won't be long before the judges say, screw this, I want an AI to replace me because I don't want to litigate all this crap.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, some people are already excited for that, but it's also dystopian, right? So then when something happens, you don't even get to see a person. The AI just checks your case and adjudicates, like it's insane.
I mean, I'm feeling that happen now, right? With us posting on Reddit, I noticed that I just get AI bot moderators just telling me my post is no good. Like, I wrote a post the other day, put it on, I think, the option subreddit, and I titled the post "Why I'm in Love with Covered Calls." Right? I post it. It gets taken down like 2 minutes later, and the reason was the AI bot said no FAQ questions as posts. Right? And because my title was "Why something something," the AI bot assumed that I was asking a question that I could actually just Google myself.
Or was it the FAQs of the subreddit?
All was in FAQs. Yeah, just because there was a why starting in the title, right? And then that post was just gone.
Yeah. Okay, so we need lawyers.
Yeah, imagine that happening with your driver's license, the title to your house, like
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Or hey, I don't know. About 3 weeks ago, I lost access to my Twitter account. I have no idea why, right? And I don't know if a human actually saw it. I think
Yeah.
maybe somebody flagged something that I wrote if they were unhappy with me, or maybe even not. I don't even know. But basically, I can't get in touch with anyone at Twitter, and I don't know, man. I've spent 4 or 5 years on that app a lot, and I've built so many relationships on there, and they're all just gone now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been deplatformed a couple of times. Like I don't even know. I never had an Instagram account, and I created one, and within 3 days I was banned for life, and I barely even posted, and I have no idea why. And so, but like I really don't give a shit about Instagram, to be honest. But when you're faced with this deplatforming moment, it's so brutal because nobody will talk to you. You don't even get it. They don't tell you why, because then you would have then you could go and like sue them or something. And so when you think that that would become how like civic life would be, then it's like, whoa, that's really bad, right? Like imagine, I don't know, like Canadian truckers getting cut off from their bank account type of thing. Like imagine you do something that like the powers that be are dissatisfied with, and all of a sudden like you legit can't access your bank account anymore. Insane.
Yeah, it's scary.
So yeah,
But yeah, what to do with that law student, Novice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Study something else. I mean, I'm a bit like in Doug Casey's camp, right? Unless you study something very specific and you already know why you want to study it. Like it's like, oh, I need this to then go do this, to then go do this. Unless you have that roadmap in your head, probably better not to waste your time on university and instead learn in the school of life type of thing. So do a cool, I don't know, missionary trip of some kind. I mean, I'm not advocating for the church in any way. I'm just saying like go to a foreign place and solve some problems. So you probably learn a ton more about how life works and how people work than you do at a university.
Hey, so what do you guys think of this framing, right? This way of thinking about it. So I was thinking, hey, so law, accounting, stuff like that, AI will probably take over your job. Don't let your kids study those subjects. And I was thinking, yeah, but why not those subjects? I thought, oh, okay, because it's a lot to do with things that are not tangible. They're a lot to do with text and a lot to do with sorting things out in the realms of language and numbers, right? So maybe that's it. But then I think that doesn't really cover it properly, right? Like, how do you define where the realm ends that AI cannot kind of take over? And I thought, and I don't know if I'm correct, but I thought maybe a really crude but effective way of framing it would be take risks. Like if you're able to take risks, then maybe that is somewhere that the AI can't touch you yet. Like if you say, oh, I want to learn how to farm, or I want to go run a coconut plantation, or I want to build property, or I want to like Lovis start a business, right? Or learn how to fix cars, right? These things involve a lot of risk. Or maybe be an investor. That involves taking risks, and I think AI is super good at being efficient, but the risk taking still needs a human to say yes or no, right? Like it helps the human to make a better decision about how the risk should be taken, but at the end of the day, the risks are still taken by the decision to take risks are still taken by the human, right? Or am I missing something?
Yeah, maybe you're better at evaluating what the risks are and what they might be, but I think AI doesn't have the full context of your life, and so ultimately you're the one who has to decide and then know when's the right point. But yeah, I agree. I think this risk taking is definitely something that maybe more of these younger folks should do.
Yeah, like, okay, if you think, right, Flo, where you're at, maybe, you know, if you see an apprentice guy learning carpentry or learning how to work at a butcher's, right, how to carve up a cow or whatnot, like, or how to roast coffee, you know, all these things, in a way, it involves risk, right? If you do it wrongly, you've wasted a cut of meat, or you've wasted a bag of beans, or you've wasted a good piece of wood, right? And those are things that are kind of tangible. There's risk involved, and I don't know. I feel like AI can't touch those things, or I can't see how they could touch it yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, compared to learning law,
Did you see there was a video I saw, there's like so-called hand farms now. It's like guys, apparently there's like people in India that get paid to put a GoPro on their head, and the camera can just like see what their hands do, hence the name hand farm. And they do household chores, and I guess the video material is specifically to train the household robots to like how to fold laundry, how to do the dishes, how to stack the dishwasher.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, I mean, this is why I think so many of these companies are obsessed with building the humanoid robots or whatever, because I think they really do believe that they will be able to take over all that stuff. Hard to say, right? At which point, like, I don't know. I just think of like living in an old house and like there's a leaky pipe. It's gonna be a minute before the robot is better at fixing that than an experienced plumber.
I mean, don't know. With like the rate of innovation that's happening and the amount of money that is currently flowing into these areas.
Yeah.
You know, the video, did you see the video of this X1 robot? It was like, there's a meme created from it when it was trying to close the dishwasher. And it was just so weird because it was like grabbing into the air because it wasn't really reaching the door of the dishwasher. And it looked so weird. And the guy posted like, oh, that's how I look when I had 10 pints. And trying to close the dishwasher. But I think like the rate at which this will improve, because they have the capabilities there, right? Like the robot is able to move the fingers. It's able to do that. So I think all they need to be working on is how to improve the software. And as we just said, if every software developer is now, you know, just so much more efficient, that will improve by so much. And it will be the small tasks first. You know, maybe we'll be good at you know, what's something that
I see them tiling floors for construction.
Yeah, maybe that will be a while. Yeah, but you know, that could be a first thing. Maybe it does. Maybe at home it'll fold the laundry. Could be something.
I saw this Chinese robot, Jason, that does the
cooking.
You know, like for construction, when you do steel reinforced concrete, which is pretty much all concrete, you have the rebar, like the bars, and they all get tied together with wire. And they have a robot that has like these funky wheels, so it can ride on the actual rebar, and then it gets to a junction where there's two cross things, and then it goes and like does the wire around. It's like in like a split second, and then it goes to the next one. It's like this guy can like this one robot can replace probably like 10 people.
Yeah,
like it's insane. Yeah.
But remember when we were in Suzhou and we met Bill, and then his partner, another guy came in, and he was also working with robots, right? And he wanted to use it for agriculture. Yeah. So I think we're gonna find out whenever we log on to whatever our social media is, and they show us, oh look, here's another robot taking away somebody's livelihood.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
and then it'll be all about like finding out what the next thing is, right? That people are willing to pay for, because I have a lot of hope in that.
Yeah, I do too. There will be, and all these freaking robots need fixing too, right? I mean, I guess there's a robot for that too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe that, you know, it must bring also insane amounts of deflation, because everything will get so cheap.
Which will be a good thing. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Luke Groman keeps talking about that, right? He's like, and also that guy, The Price of Tomorrow, right? Lovis, you remember the
Jeff
guy's
Booth?
name?
Or,
Jeff Booth. Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah.
Right. So they talk about that, and I actually listened to his whole book when I was in Turkey in September, and Luke keeps saying like our debt-based financial system, it cannot survive with this kind of deflation because we need more and more debt to occur, and it's hard to get more and more debt when robots make the salaries almost go the other direction, right? You can't take on more debt when people are earning less, and people could be earning less when a lot of these jobs are being taken away.
Because you don't
And
need as much.
it's like this very weird paradox, right? Because our life will be better because we have to do less, but because we have to do less, it means we will get paid less.
Yeah.
Unless you're smart enough to figure out what you can do in light of the robots being able to take over human jobs, right?
Yeah, it's hard to predict. And the other thing is happening so fast. It's like it's even hard to stay on top of what is happening. Like for even for me, to sometimes I miss that Google brought out the latest model or did this or did the nano banana that's now so good at editing images, and it's just moving so quickly in all these different areas. Yeah, it's definitely fascinating. I think like the biggest thing in the midterm will be energy, right? That will be our biggest humanity bottleneck. So if you want to work somewhere, maybe that's a good point to start as a lawyer. Go and do something related to energy, right? Because all these chips that need to be in place for AI to work, they just need enormous amounts of energy. All the robots need charging, all that,
yeah.
Refining that metal and then casting it and doing all that needs energy too, right?
Yeah.
Everything needs electrons and heat.
Yeah. And our demand is somewhat like just in the last 3 years with AI coming about has just increased so much, exponentially gone up.
Yeah,
Traffic exponentially.
I listened to Luke's last week's newsletter, and he quoted somebody that I can't remember now, but the report basically said in the last 2 years, everybody's focus has shifted from the bottleneck being chips to the bottleneck being energy.
Yeah.
Because they were like saying that the models can get more efficient, and maybe every 6 months they come out with a new way to compute, and so then they become just so much more efficient. But you can't build a power plant in 6 months.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, whoever just has more electrons, more abundant electrons, just wins, right?
And then I guess the other thing is maybe models are more efficient and they get more efficient, but still people will always want to have the latest model, right? You don't want to talk to a dumb AI. You always want the smartest AI, and the smartest AI, that will also be its own innovation curve that will run against that. So I think energy is that final bottleneck, and it's the ultimate bottleneck. There's no bottleneck underneath that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's also Doomberg's point, right? In so many ways. So I read this thing just yesterday, and I don't know if it's true. So like the US is supposedly building way more new data centers than China, which might be the only industry that they're supposedly building less or slower than China. But I don't know if it's true, right? Who knows? But if it were true, then that would mean that maybe the Chinese already understand that it's actually about energy, which they have in abundance. I mean, the US does too, but I think the US has more like oil and gas, which you can, of course.
Damn.
He is gone. But I guess, what was he saying? The US does too. Like, the US has an abundance of raw energy, right? But not an abundance of supplied natural
They can't turn
gas
that into
molecules and
electricity.
electrons.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that saying. You know that saying, was it amateurs discuss strategy while professionals talk logistics? I think it was some guy, I don't know, is it General Patton or some soldier?
Mm-hmm.
And he basically said, yeah, you can talk all this strategy you want, but the guys, the team that churns out the most tanks and can get it to the point of contact will win,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like if you break it down into battle for battle, yeah, you might win some battles by being smart, but at the end of the day, if somebody's just out producing you with manpower and artillery shells and tanks and fighter planes, you're just
Yeah.
gonna lose,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And hey, Lovis is back. Hey, Lovis, I was just putting words in your mouth and continuing for you. So I was saying, you're saying, yeah, America's got an abundance of energy as well, but probably in the raw form, but not in the deliverable form yet, right? And
Yeah, and then the other thing with the efficiency, right? So if so one quick comment that one guy in China made, right? He's like, oh yeah, turns out that the large language models that operate in Chinese are 30-ish% more efficient because the pictorial language is more information dense versus the written sort of like written language, right? And so he's like, yeah, so it's another advantage for the Chinese. So that's a superficial thing, but I think that with all this, chip wars or whatever, China's already shown that they can actually do more with less. Like, like DeepSeek comparatively is more efficient than ChatGPT. Is it as good? I don't freaking know. I'm not qualified to say, but they can run an impressive workload with way less cycle times on its GPUs. So I don't, and again, I don't know if the statement is true that they're not building more data centers. I find that hard to believe. I'm sure they're building too, but maybe they have more trust in, yeah, actually this will get super efficient and you won't even need all these GPUs. It'll just come down to, can you feed them with enough power and you'll be fine.
I don't know, like there's this interesting thing that happened with the Claude models. So a problem that I faced when developing is you run into rate limits because these models, they're based on token sizes. So if you submit some code base to them and say, like, figure this out and solve this problem, it will use a certain percentage of tokens. And let's say you're on the cheapest Claude code tier, you pay like $20 a month. And depending on how much you use it, with like 2 to 3 days of coding, you'll run out of quota with their Sonnet 4.5, the latest model, right? So you pay for a month, and then in 3 days, you can't use it anymore. And that for some time was like, oh god, that's terrible. And then they brought out this new model. It's called Haiku, and it's just I think like a third, yeah. Or I think they increased the efficiency threefold. So it's gotten much cheaper essentially to run it, and that now lets you like keep coding for a much longer time, and that's been a huge change for me. Coding and not having to pay for the highest tier.
And the result is as good, or how do they make it cheaper?
Yeah, it's almost as good. Like I don't go back to the other one at all. So
nice.
that's also a nice way to innovate in.
Yeah, and in the beginning they were joking. It's like, yeah, very soon the new AI model helps you code the next AI model, right? So naturally it'll get better and better. I mean, it's already happening, right?
It is. Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know, man. I think in our generation, I mean, yes, it's happening incredibly fast. I'm pretty sure that it'll be all right for us three. I don't know how it'll be for our kids.
Oh, I'm actually the opposite.
Oh yeah?
I feel like it will get shaky for our generation, but for our kids, it'll be fine. Yeah.
Interesting, because by then it's kind of through like the metamorphosis is past, and then you know what's behind it.
Yeah. So like my kids will another 20 years until they enter the workforce, maybe 10 if they do it at my pace. But yeah, until then, I feel like maybe we've already discovered these new fields that everybody's now working in, and society has sort of pivoted. But I feel like for us, the shift is happening just right now. You see all these layoffs of companies. People are just rethinking their strategies. You see these insane bubbles of everything that has to do with AI goes up like crazy. I don't know where this is all going.
Yeah, but on some level, it has to be a bubble, though, too. I mean, none
Yeah,
of
it's not as
these,
good as everybody says. That's true.
yeah, right? Like just like the .com bubble, it was a massive shift, right? It was absolutely earth-shattering leap forward, and yet most companies did not survive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is incredibly hard to implement these AI things into like a proper company.
Hmm.
If I just do it and I just, vibe code an app at home and I know what I'm doing, that's a very different thing than SAP with
Well,
50,000 developers implementing this
you're starting
throughout.
from scratch, right? So that's also building greenfield, starting from scratch is awesome. You
Easier.
don't have much
Yeah,
infrastructure, which is the downside, but you can completely architect it however you think is right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That is right.
Well, then, so I mean, but then maybe the really scrappy new AI powered startups will be able to attack like a behemoth other company.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, like that's what I'm sort of not hoping for, but I feel like in the same way that I now built this covered call app because I'm approaching it as a complete novice, is I think many people will now have that opportunity.
Yeah.
They see something that they don't like that costs $50 a month to subscribe, and then they spend some time on Replit and build out their own thing, and then other people might see it and do that
I mean,
themselves.
they might never go through the trouble of even selling it to somebody else because it might just be for them and
Yeah.
help,
Well, so we
help,
could be heading to the age of like everything is custom, sample size of one, right? Like everybody will just,
yeah.
oh, I want a new QuickBooks. So you just type it in, like build me a QuickBooks that's got my name on the front page, and and works only
Yeah.
for my New Zealand tax cases, and
But for that,
that's all
it's
I
the
own.
best.
Yeah. Who
And
knows?
then
Yeah.
isn't that basically what Elon's trying to do with macro hard? Is like,
What's that? I missed that.
oh, so Elon started a new company and it's literally called Macro Hard, which is the opposite of Microsoft, right? And he's trying to, I think, as I understood it, is like it's completely AI emulation of any existing software. So it's basically like,
Mhm.
oh, you want Windows 10 back? No problem, right? Like
Here it is.
we will,
Yeah.
like it'll create it for you when you
Mhm.
want it, when you need it. Right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So I don't know.
That guy's got like serious
He's got a good
name
sense of
skills.
humor.
Yeah.
Macro hard.
Micro. Yeah, but that could be the case, right? Like that everything is pretty much custom built for you because it costs nothing to do it, and the AI models, like in the next couple of years, will have gotten so good that you can just like get whatever software you want. So then,
when you
what do you need
want it.
software
So
engineers for then?
yeah, I mean, it becomes almost performance art, right? Like you have to be there to even experience it because it doesn't even get written down. Like
Yeah.
it's just in RAM. It's not even
Yeah. It's
on the
compiled
hard
for you
drive.
right now.
Yeah, it's insane. Super cool novel. Just because I was just thinking of it. It was written in the 90s, I think, and foretold a shocking amount of this is the Diamond Age. Can't think of the author right now. Doug Casey had recommended it, and I listened to it right away. Neil Stevenson.
Neil Stevenson, right?
Yeah. And that's in a world where a lot of this has come to pass. Basically, robots do everything. There's these 3D printers that can like synthesize anything from like the molecule level, atomic or molecule level up. So even food, right? Like they can make rice. Like it's not quite as nice as natural rice, but it doesn't cause cancer. It tastes fine. Like you can completely live on like a synthesized food diet, no problem. And in that world, somehow there's very few things that carry value. Businesses still do, but starting a new one is almost impossible. Because the entrenched ones has like so deeply entrenched. But like IP, intellectual property, like knowing how to make the robots do the thing is still worth a lot. And so like there's a lot of war over knowledge and information, basically. So like at the end of it all, information becomes the ultimate good for trade. In this novel, at least that's how I understood it. Maybe I got it wrong, but I think that's what they were explaining. Anyway, super entertaining read or listen, and highly recommend. I'm not usually a big sci-fi guy at all, but I thought it was fantastic.
Are there
I
different
will-
versions to that book, to the narration? Because the one I tried to listen to sounded a bit grating. I
don't
couldn't
remember.
listen through it. Okay, I'll check.
I mean,
If
on
you
Audible, it was good.
remember, okay, but if you remember your narrator, if you can search it, let me know. Then I'll look for the same one.
Yeah.
We'll check it
Diamond
out.
Edge, and another one, right? What was another one that was pretty good from him?
Yeah, well, so he's written several that were.
Yeah, Tim Ferriss always talks about Snow Crash.
Yeah, I haven't read or listened to that one yet, but supposedly most of his books are pretty good, or very good.
Snow Crash.
Maybe we can get him on the podcast.
To Tim Ferriss.
No, Stevenson,
Mm.
the author. Ask him
Yeah.
about AI.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he must have some takes on it.
Oh.
He must. They would probably be more
Founded,
qualified than mine.
Who knows?
Right.
Who knows? I think everybody's pretty surprised by what's going on and how things are changing and moving.
The thing that strikes me when we traveled to China, Jason, was that the Chinese and I mean, sample size is so small, so I feel like an idiot for even saying it, right? But they didn't seem to be as bothered by it, and I
They love
wonder.
it.
And I wonder why. I wonder if because they're like, yeah, but every job here is in a factory, and it'll take a while before like they have so deep specific knowledge of actually making stuff, like not software but stuff, and that they just like it's gonna be a minute before we're obsolete, if ever. I don't know. And then that with what Jason told me for years, but I had to see it to believe it. Chinese most of the time flat out refuse to pay for software. They're like, no, software is just a thing that makes the hardware work. I refuse to pay for the software. And it's so different than the Western model, right? Where everything is a monthly subscription.
I mean, just look at the electric cars, right? The cheapest BYD gets self-driving for free. So
yeah, well, maybe we'll get it or has it, depending on. But and then for Tesla, for years, it's been the story that's why the company is worth $1 trillion. It's the robotaxi, and it's like, well, we still don't have it.
Didn't they now agree on this vision of making it an AI company?
I mean, I think
with that payout that he's going to get. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. But if the software is free, how do the software companies then do stuff? Like, how do they make money? Digital advertising,
hardware as well.
Mm-hmm. But even like the Baidus or the whatever they're called, Alibaba,
ads, I think.
Because they don't have much hardware. I reckon they they're mainly software companies, right? Alibaba.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Alibaba is a marketplace, right? They get a commission or whatever from sales, probably. And
yeah,
I mean, I think that most of the LLM stuff is going to go. I think very soon they're going to realize that. I mean, I don't. What the F do I know? But I think OpenAI is going to become a Google, basically, because their business model is not selling software. Google's business model is ads, eyeballs, attention, right?
Yeah.
I think Google is trying to force people to pay for their software more and more, but by far the biggest chunk is still advertisement, right? Just like Meta. And I think that OpenAI very soon is going to officially also announce that that's how they're going to get to more revenue, because I think you can only make so much money charging people $20 a month, or even 200, or even 1,000, right? It's not going to make you hundreds of billions a year. I don't think it will. But
and they have large cost of running these models, right? It's not cheap.
Yeah, exactly. It's not cheap to run. And so, but if you can, because, ChatGPT is already becoming a massive traffic source. If you rank on there well, that's good for your app. Like you guys said, you got some traffic from there. So that's fantastic. And I think very soon you will be able to pay Anthropic or OpenAI or all these guys to to rank better on there.
Yeah.
Just like you can
Yeah.
pay to rank on Google.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
and I think it'll be good for them because of more revenue, but I think it'll also take a bit away of the mystery. It'll demystify it because it's like, oh, it's a glorified sales guy.
Yeah.
You know?
The thing is that I found the best
Good point,
article
yeah.
for you. Yeah. But then, I mean, that will sort of kill the purpose a little bit of the, I mean, it didn't really do it for Google, right? Because you think about it,
I think it'll
companies
take
pay to show up high.
it'll take a chunk out of Google for sure. But I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
think that's
yeah,
a bad
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's about
But it will
time.
also
I mean, they
skew the
also need to get
perspective, right?
disrupted.
Because, yeah, I mean, it's been 20 years. But right now, if you do some research with ChatGPT, for instance, you will want the best results, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be consolidated for me. I don't want the sponsored results to be consolidated for me.
That's true.
That kind of makes it a bit, don't know.
Well, maybe it's
Because,
just the free models become better and better and they have the sales in it and the paid don't. Maybe something like that.
yeah, that could be. Yeah. Because many people use the free models, that's true. Not paying
But
for this stuff.
it'll become too good of a target where eventually shareholders will demand it, basically.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Once they go public.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah, fair. They're not public yet, but I mean, they still have shareholders because they have tons of VC investors and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. True. Yeah, man, interesting. And then all of it, once in a while you see these Chinese models come out and they just rank so much better than all the others. I saw this Kimi thinking model that came out last week. That in the theoretical rankings, right? You never know what it actually is, but it just came out on top. It was pretty good.
How do they rank that, Flo? Like, what are they using to? And is it a good way of ranking? Is it?
I don't know. They do
is it
some
hype
math.
or?
They do some that is probably similar to like I think it was created for that, but it's a kind of, it's maybe similar to a university test, a general university test that they do, and they see how high they score on certain questions.
Well, so that's like literally a Turing test.
Yeah, so they test for like human, level
Humanness.
scoring in solving problems.
Wow.
But that's not everything, of course, right? It's,
but probably outranking every human already.
Oh yeah, in certain tasks, but in others not, right? Like I said, Claude produces a lot of garbage. When you let Claude just do, there's this funny meme, right, where you ask Claude to do something, and what you tasked it to do was kind of this like little car, and it comes back with a spaceship with 25 wheels and all this stuff. And if you don't know what you're doing, you will just commit that to your code base. And so you'll have that spaceship with 25 different wheels, but you think you have a car. And then the next time you do a change, it will evaluate that spaceship and you say like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that spaceship now and I'm going to add, bigger rims to it. And you're thinking it does this tiny thing, but it actually does a whole, there's this big thing it needs to work with. So it overcomplicates a lot. So I think that's what a lot of people fall into with AI coding. They'll start out and think, oh, this is so cool. I can do this. I'm a software engineer now. And then they go one level deeper and it's like, oh shit, you're creating the biggest pile of garbage that's impossible to maintain and create new features on.
I mean, I guess, the other day I asked it to create something called barbell on wheels, right? Because I want to call the course that, because it's a wheel strategy, barbell, whatever, right? So I asked it to create an image of barbell on wheels, and it basically created this super ugly looking barbell with like wheels on random spots, right? So it just looked like nothing like what I wanted it to look like, right?
Yeah.
But now what you're saying is true, because if, let's say, I had no idea what barbell on wheels should look like, I would just take that and go, yeah, that's good, right? And then I'll just keep building everything on that, right?
Yeah. The problem is that most humans have an idea what a barbell on wheels would look like if you say, I want a barbell on wheels.
Yeah, but not for code, right?
Yeah.
For coding. And that's
Yeah.
where that mistake comes in.
Yeah. And it does a lot of these things where, sometimes you prompt it to do something. It's like, okay, call this API to do this and calculate these values. And then it will just sometimes just hard code the values into the thing. Right. And so if you don't check if it is actually doing the calculation, it just has something like, if I am called, return 42. Right. So it just always returns 42 just to match the test. And if you don't know what you're doing, that's just what you're going to live with. And if somebody calls you up on it later, you'll be like, oh, I don't know why this does that. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of hype, and it's not perfect. Right? There's lots of room for improvement still for all of this stuff.
Would it be if I was to be a really bad reductionist, would it be akin to saying AI is like giving you a lot of good horsepower, but it doesn't necessarily give you good direction? Like that still depends on the person driving the models.
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah. You can have your wheels spinning a lot. You go in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Maybe your wheels are not on the ground at all, but they're spinning really fast.
Parallel.
Yeah, you're going like that. Yeah, all sorts of funny stuff. So I think it is that way.
Right. But if you're a good driver / mechanic and you can use that power, then super good.
Yeah. So actually, I think like I'm in a pretty good spot with this because I've never been a good software developer. I've always been sort of an architect or led a team of a small team of developers. So I'm good at like seeing what needs to be done and then translating that into do this, but I'm not good at doing this. So I think that's why AI has helped me so much, because I don't need another developer to do it for now, to do it for me, because I can just type that into and AI will do it. But yeah, if you don't have that, that deep knowledge of how software is supposed to work, I don't think it's that easy to build software. And I think it would be the same with accounting, right? Like if you put your bank statements in and ask it to reconcile, it might like create the biggest garbage. And if you might think it's good, right? Because it has all the green ticks and looks like it's completed. But if you give it to an accountant, the accountant might say like, no, that's not how we do reconciliation. But yeah, we shall see.
I think we shall see but we shall see basically on a daily basis, right? Like things moving so fast. So
yeah, don't sleep on it.
And what you said just now about the guy working at a company or whatever, right? That you need to level up. I think the thing is, whoever's listening, just realize that the company's not fast enough to deal with how things are changing. So, or your university is not fast enough, right? That lecturer's teaching you something that might be already obsolete.
Yeah.
Right. If it's not like first principles stuff. So just make sure that you're exposed to the real world somehow, whether that is building an app for yourself or, I don't know, swimming in Reddit and looking at all those orange, purple, green apps that are coming out and saying, I need to be better than that.
Yeah. That definitely helps. Yeah, it's just staying on top of it. I still use Twitter for that. I think it's pretty good following the right tech people because they'll often surface something so you don't miss it.
Yeah, you guys need to send me Twitter stuff because I don't go on there anymore.
Damn, don't hold a grudge. Just create a new account and start reading.
Grok will find them and shut it down.
Yeah, I know. They'll be like, oh, this guy sounds similar, the language he uses.
He has the same opinions. We don't like these opinions.
So Flo, in a year's time when we talk to you again, if in an ideal world, how would things look like?
I'm still doing the same thing. Maybe be a bit more diversified in terms of sources of income.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. maybe
No,
some of the
but
businesses will have turned into something that have generated some revenue.
I think
Um,
I think you will figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with how quick you guys are moving on the days to expiry, and I think if you keep doing that approach, I think you'll be somewhere with it, somewhere good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my hope, right? Like that some of these seeds that I'm planting will grow into a tree that bears fruit at some point. Right now it's, it's just planting more and more seeds and seeing how I can grow them. So yeah, hopefully in a year's time I'll see that there's a bit of fruit on some of them.
Cool. So then we'll see you in a year's time for episode 3 of Mr. Strauf and the covered call.
Let's do it. Sounds good. Yeah. Which
Hopefully we have
episode will
some.
that be? What do you guys think?
I don't know. What's the run rate? 25 so far.
25 a year? No, we were, yeah.
Nah, it's a bit more than a year.
Yeah.
So is that 20 a year?
Ish, yeah. I mean, I think if we did a episode a month, I think that means we're still alive. If we're doing 2 a month, then I think we're doing good.
Yeah.
It's really, for me, it's becoming really about quality, right? Like we're getting requests for people that want to be on the show, which is a bit awkward, honestly, because most of the time it's like some AI generated thing or some auto email thing is like, oh, I really enjoyed your episode with so and so. Some paragraph of analysis, which is like completely BS. And then I think you would enjoy talking to so and so. And it's like,
Yeah. I don't know.
we did have one guy on that reached out to us, but he was actually very good guest, fun guest.
Oh, yeah, I think I listened to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, even with AI and Riverside, editing these and putting them out and promoting them is still effort, still commitment. And so I think just guests that you're genuinely interested in meeting, that you want to build a relationship with, and the whole thing's not supposed to be transactional at all, right? It's supposed to be a genuine like exploration of thoughts, ideas, whatever. So I think, so even if it was just one a month, I would still be happy as long as the quality is there.
I think you guys have figured out something, some workflow, some rhythm.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Right.
Just keep doing it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Just keep doing it, right? Don't give up.
Yeah.
Like this is what one of our early guests, Sven Lorenz, he has this Undervalued Shares newsletter, and he's like, you'd be surprised if you just do it for 3 years, all of a sudden stuff happens that you could not even imagine.
Yeah.
He's like, he's convinced that even like algos like Google, if you've been around and you keep producing content for 3 years, all of a sudden all the algos take you like more serious and push your stuff to way more.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. Yeah.
I've no idea, but it will make a ton of sense, right?
Yeah. I have a website that's a bit older that had some SEO worthy traffic on, like content on it, and it's doing incredibly well for what I did with it.
I mean, Lovis, the virtual relationships we're making, it's also turning into reality, right? Like next week we're gonna go meet Rick Rule for dinner, and
nice.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's
Completely
just crazy.
insane,
I
right?
mean,
yeah.
It's just,
That's
sometimes
it. I think you guys enjoy it.
You go to Giant's conference, and then on the way back, you get denied entry into the United States. So yeah, the podcast has real world implications.
It's tangible.
It's
very tangible.
Yeah, both ways.
Love it.
In a few years, it'll just be a fun story, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it's led to a bunch of positive things based on what you said. So
for sure,
that's definitely good.
Well, cool guys. That's so good catching up.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Let's catch up every year.
Yeah, we'll put all the links to all the things into the notes. If anybody's interested, can reach out to Flo and Jason directly if you want to get into options trading. I highly recommend it. It's confusing, but it's also not as hard as it sounds. But eventually, when Jason gets his stuff together and publishes his course, I'll post an honest review.
Thanks, Lovis.
I did not understand a word. Yeah. No, it'll be good. I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe we can do a kayak trip together again at some point.
Yeah.
Shit, man. When Lovis is in the States, we'll be seriously covering every single time zone almost, right?
Yeah. But if we do this time, this is a pretty good time for the US. New Zealand has a great overlap with the Americans. It'll be your morning.
What
It'd
time is it in
be,
Dallas now?
in the afternoon.
Okay. So
Yeah, it's pretty close.
we could actually find a time that works, huh?
Yeah. It's just one party has to stay up late.
Okay.
No other option. But you guys seem to be late night owls anyway. So
I'm falling asleep, man.
it should be right. Yeah. Man.
All
right. Next time I'll stay up.
No, it's fine. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I got to drink wine. First ever episode with wine on the show. Cheers, Lovis.
That's good.
Yeah, you were smarter than me.
Unfortunately,
You brought the
it's not that
bottle
easy to fill
your
up on
desk.
coffee, so mine was empty.
All right. Then have a good week ahead, and it was so cool to catch up. Well,
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
can't wait.
Always
to see
love
what
chatting
happens